Hi, this is Jurgen Rasmussen speaking. Welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis vlog. Uh, this this episode is about death, anxiety, and happiness. Actually, one way of increasing your happiness or having more access to happiness is by contemplating death. Might sound a bit morbid and a bit strange to many, but it's true. I'd like to start off by reading a quick little quote by Steve Jobs. This is his famous 2005 Stanford commencement speech where he talks about death. Uh, Here goes. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you're going to die soon is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You are already naked. There is no reason not to follow your heart. Now, Steve Jobs had cancer and died shortly thereafter. But the truth is, we're all going to die. We're all going to die. You know, as Milton Erickson famously said, we all start dying from the moment that we're born. Some of it just do it faster than others. So we're all going to die. One thing that you can do, and which I do, I've been meditating for 26 years at this point, and in the last couple of years, in many of my meditation sessions, I include some awareness of my own mortality, and it simply encompasses reflecting upon the fact that I'm going to die, and that life is very precious, and that relatively soon my life will be over, and that the life of the people that I care about will also soon be over, and that's precious too. Now, what's the value of this? Well, the value of this is that it's very hard to stay angry. It's very hard to stay bitter. It's very hard to have a lot of resentment if you truly are aware of and contemplate and realize the impermanence of life, how everything is transitory, and how everything is constantly changing. So it's a lot harder to hold grudges. It's a lot harder to be angry over time. It's a lot harder to be bitter. And it's easier to prioritize, because this illusion that life just goes on permanently gives rise to a lot of sloppy thinking. By having this awareness about mortality, it's easier to prioritize, and it's easier to stay true to what really matters in life, and that's really important. There was a really interesting BBC documentary that's called Bhutan's Dark Secret to Happiness that suggests that the people of Bhutan are so happy partly because they contemplate death 5 times a day. There's also some studies showing, see if I can find it here, there's a 2007 study showing that subjects instructed to contemplate their own death are more likely to construct happy words such as joy when asked to complete sentence stems that starts with the words J and O, where they're just supposed to complete the sentence in whatever way comes up. So contemplating death gives an increased awareness of impermanence, of the transitory nature of experience, which the more you see that, the less likely you are to get caught up as much into your own thinking and temporary moods, because you more and more realize just how transitory and how impermanent it is. And I think this is largely why, so to speak, contemplating death on a regular basis can increase your happiness, and can access happiness better on the inside, because the more you see the transitory nature of experience, the less you get caught up into the thinking storms that can appear from time to time, the more time you will naturally spend in that stillness that is always present, and which you will be more aware of when the thinking isn't quite that active. So if you want to increase your happiness, contemplate death. Spend some time meditating every day, where you meditate on these two key points. A, I'm going to die, and my life will be over, and the life of the people that I know and care about will be over. Really contemplate that and be present with that. The other thing I would like to say around the topic of death, because I've had quite a few people tell me that they have anxiety of death. So they'll say, death scares me, or I have death anxiety. I remember one particular client who was 39 years old and who said, I'm really, really scared of death, and I'm really scared of growing old. And I looked at her and I said, no, that's an illusion. You're not scared of death. You're not scared of growing old. It's impossible to have death anxiety. And she looked at me and she said, you're weird. Everyone has fear of death. Everyone has death anxiety. I said, no, it just appears that way when you don't realize the illusory nature of thought. I said, listen, you've never felt death because you can't feel the future. I'll say that one more time. You can't feel the future. You can only feel a thought in consciousness right now. You can label that thought, whether it's a internal dialogue or it's some sort of mental picture. You can label it the future or the past, but it's not per se the past or the future. It's just an image in consciousness right now. So actually what we call past and what we call future are images and self-talk appearing in consciousness this very moment. So you can't actually feel the future. But if you create an image and some internal talk about death and how horrible it will be, and you forget that it's thought, your body will respond with stress hormones. And that will give rise to the illusion that you're feeling what you're thinking about, the contents of your thinking, in this case, death. But that really has nothing to do with it, because you can't feel death. You can't feel the future. You can't feel the afterlife, if there is such a thing. You can't feel the process of dying. You can only feel a thought in consciousness this very moment, a mental image or an internal dialogue, likely a combination, that you call death. Now, when these images and internal dialogue gets glued to a set of body sensations, when that tangles together, your body begins to respond with a lot of stress. But this is completely illusory. So if it ever feels as if you're fearing death or fearing the future or experiencing the future or the past, that's just a sign that you've forgotten that you're thinking in the moment. You've just fallen for a very simple psychological illusion. In the same way that you can't really feel the past. So I just had a client earlier today who had a horrible flight experience at age 8. Now she was 42. And she told me the story of how she had anxiety in her body today because of the terrible flight she had at age 8. Now, I'm not disputing that she was on a plane when she was 8 years old and that she had, certain feelings. But what she's experiencing right now is not what the 8-year-old experienced back then. It's what she, at age 42, thinks happened with her current mood, her current expectations, her current theories. It's what her mind thinks happened at age 8. It's how her mind thinks it was like being 8 years old on that plane and what that means for her future. That's plus a story of how she was an anxious person. That's what she experienced in the present. But that's not what happened when she was age 8. What she was actually experiencing now was a new mental image, something that had never happened before. And I helped her to realize that if you think about it, memory is reconstructive anyways, so if you think about it and you start feeling anxious, it's not due to what happened back then. It's due to you right now forgetting that what you're thinking right now is not actually happening. I'll say that once again. The anxiety is a result of you forgetting that what you're thinking right now is not actually happening right now as you think it. That's the illusory nature of it. And once she saw that, she was able to create the same images and the same soundtrack, and to do so with no response of anxiety in her body whatsoever. Anyways, hope this was useful. Enjoy contemplating death and enjoy life. Till next time.